Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Billy. Going to be your host for this track. Just one reminder before we get started. This is the track with the AI Needs Data session with Harshit from AWS. If you're interested in our other track session, which is bringing data modeling to the masses with AI and embedded connectivity with LE AI, go ahead and click on agenda at the top of your screen and then click on that session to hop over. They're happening at the same time, so you can pick whichever one you're most interested in, and then we'll see you later together. So kicking off track one, really excited today to be joined by Harshit from AWS. He's an AI expert. We're going to be talking today about why AI needs data and the challenges getting there. So before we get started, just a reminder, there is a Q&A in the top right in the chat screen. Feel free to drop any questions there at any time. We will get to them live at the end with Harshit and answer them there. So let's kick off this track session, AI Needs Data, other insights from new early AI implementations with Harshit from AWS. Really excited to have him with us today. You saw him speak just now in the keynote and share a little bit of his expertise and perspective. So I'm really excited to dive into it now and learn more. So Harshit, welcome to the stage. If you could just give us a little introduction about yourself, your experience, and what you do at AWS, that would be great.
Hey everyone, thanks Billy. So my name is Harshit Kohli and I'm a senior technical account manager with Amazon Web Services and also a analytics Gen AI streaming specialist here. I'm also pursuing my PhD currently in the artificial intelligence field where I'm exploring a lot of subjects around how AI can impact healthcare, risk management sector, finance, marketing, sales, and whatnot, right? So I am part of small, medium business scale and startup teams here at Amazon Web Services. And I've seen how customers are starting from zero and then going towards a very mature stage and embracing the AI also in parallel. So I've seen that shift and I'm part of that journey and I'm really excited to be part of that journey.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. Really great to have someone with really solid experience already building and implementing AI, especially because it's so new and early. Excited to hear about some of your insights and what you've already seen sort of on the front lines in the field. So earlier today in the keynote session, you talked about there's a host of challenges to successfully implementing AI that you've already seen. Tell us a little bit more about those and what you've seen people run into, especially at the enterprise scale when trying to build out their data foundation for AI.
So from the small, medium business scale and startup companies, I'll first take a look at that angle. So I've already seen companies build amazing things with AI. So AI is not a new thing for them. So while they are making themselves mature with the cloud journey, on the parallel track, they are identifying use cases and working on artificial intelligence workloads as well. So it's no longer a future hypothetical thing, but it's a reality as of now. And with agentic AI, MCP servers, and a lot of those new advancements coming through, we have seen companies adopting agentic AI. So let's take an example. So there are companies where they were doing certain tasks in a repetitive fashion, and now they have realized that agentic AI can be a good thing for them, where they can build things on top of agentic AI and get those tasks done very quickly. They've also trained Copilot. They've also trained the Copilot solution and various other products which can help improve and boost their productivity. So for the tasks where the developers were struggling earlier, they were taking, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, or 8 months to deliver a product. Right now, it's very much possible within a month with good solid testing and good UAT as well. Now, there are natural language assistants as well. So let's say we first initially talked about the technical users, but what about the business users? There are executives, business users, right? So for business users as well, there is natural language assistants where they can query with them in simple language, simple English language, and in the background that can get converted to a query or a code or some kind of a query which an AI can understand and then give them the required results as well. So we are already helping innovative companies to roll out implementations at AWS by using a lot of Gen AI services. Bedrock and the assisted models are just an example for that. Companies are adapting Q Developer, Q for Business, and with MCP and agentic AI, they are trying to explore the things. They're trying to utilize the fullest potential of the Gen AI services.
Yeah, totally made sense. Really, really cool. I mean, this is like sci-fi stuff that's already happening and really being implemented, which is just incredible. So why is it a challenge, and what creates the friction between wanting these really, really cool things and what it takes to actually implement and build them?
So, to me, the number one thing which is important for these companies, and what I feel, what I've felt with the small, medium business scale customers and startup customers, is that as they are moving along with this AI journey, they're also realizing that they need to make sure that the data is appropriate enough so that the models can ingest them and can produce the right results. So, I mean, whatever data you are going to put in front of the model, based on the data, it is going to produce good and enhanced results for you. Now, a very good use case is for these, I'll say these are very great customers like Uber, Netflix, Airbnb. Now, it's really all about the data. So while AI is improving, the models are enhancing, enlarging, our data infrastructure behind the scenes also needs to catch up, right? So the amount of richness we are providing in the form of data, the great amount of results the models are going to generate, right? So we are already seeing these companies like Uber, Netflix, and Airbnb, where they are dealing with billion and trillions of events per day, and they're scaling the data. And right now they are struggling with how to scale the data. And I'm very sure that they're going to find out sooner or pretty much soon, like how to handle this kind of massive amount of data and train the models effectively. So AI is actually more ready than the data is, and they have realized this concept that they need to fast track their data, they need to massage their data, they need to make sure that the data is meaningful so that the models can produce the best results they want.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And these are just the leaders, right? Everyone else is seeing the same thing at smaller scales, but the same sort of exponential rate of growth, right? Which has just been unbelievable in the past few decades.
Right. So, I mean, if you talk about the neural networks, right? So the neural networks take off and they deliver on the promise of AI. Now, the scale at which the data size is growing and the model size growing is rapid, right? So the companies have understood by now that they need to be very much in par with that pace. And if you see in this graph, I mean, the accuracy and the scale at which this is moving, it's moving at a very greater speed and rapidly. So the companies are realizing this value, and as time is moving forward in a very fast-paced manner, the companies are also trying to make sure that the data is very much prepared for these models. So they're providing good compute kind of resources, they're providing them the good amount of data, and as and where they're training those models with high rich data, the models are getting smarter enough to produce good results out of it.
Yeah, makes sense. So this was a problem way before AI. It wasn't perfectly solved, right? And now what you're saying is AI is really accentuating these issues, and the supply and performance of data that AI needs is really highlighting where we didn't have good infrastructure before.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, right now we are at a point where the scale of data sizes and model sizes for many companies has hit a critical level of complexity, right? So, we all know that for good AI system, for good AI workload, which can produce the required results or expected results, we need rich data. And implementing AI will require feeding this amount of data at scale, right? So this is not simple, but companies have understood, or they are finding better ways to have richness of data so that the models can give them the required results. So it's all about how you train the data, how you are implementing AI with good data. And I can relate this with a very good example. So recently, like I was working on a few of the solutions for a gaming customer, and we were trying to analyze like how the gaming videos can be used to produce excellent insights from there on, right? So, I mean, initially we started with few sample videos. The few sample videos didn't get us the required information, but eventually we asked them for more and more of data, and that helped the models, because then the models got trained, they got richness of data, and based on that it was able to give them good insights as expected.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think it's nice to think of it as sort of the power grid behind AI, right? Like people have all sorts of power grids now that are different levels of quality. Suddenly you have these really, really power and data hungry AIs that are stressing the system, right? So we need to build to supply them with not just real electricity, but also the data that they need to function and operate at a level that performs really well for companies.
I would say that's a really great analysis, Billy. I mean, that's how you can relate it, surely.
Yeah, and that's sort of a physical thing to think of it, with this abstract sort of cloud data stuff. So, as we relate it to the data world and the infrastructure, what specific things are standing in the way of building better, more efficient power grids for your data to AI?
So overall, as I understand, it comes down to few things. I'll start with, first of all, data, as we are talking about data. So data silos is one important thing. So across the organization, we have fractured data, and AI needs to access that in real time. And we need to be super quick so that the data is in the form the AI models need, right? Then we talk about data volumes, because the volumes can be super high, and it cannot, I mean, it can be of such amount of volume that AI will not be able to produce the result as fast as the data volumes are coming. So the volumes have to be in right proportion to the models, right? So how to handle exploding data growth is another way without breaking your pipeline, right? Then unstructured data, like, gone are the times where we just used to have structured data. Now we have semi-structured, we have unstructured, we have structured data. All those kind of things are there. Then data storage and processing is also an important thing. We need to find better ways how to access the data without relying on like massive, expensive kind of warehouses, right? So I think if we follow these kind of approaches, then and if you're able to handle as an organization these challenges, then the models can give you the best outcomes you want.
Yeah, makes sense. I think anyone in the data world knows none of this is new. We've been talking about this. Now is really just when AI is breaking these things and specifically relating to some of these challenges that now must be fixed if we want AI. So, you've helped companies start to figure this out, start to solve it with a lot of AWS services. How do you start approaching this and thinking about it? Especially, not everyone's the Netflix and Ubers of the world, but for, many companies that don't have the, most cutting edge infrastructure, what's step one to start thinking through how to solve some of these challenges for AI?
So I would say it's really about the data infrastructure behind your AI, and every use case is different with every customer. So it entirely depends upon your use case, existing infrastructure, and the kind of goals you have, right? So the main idea behind all this is to make sure that you have systems and infrastructure so that the data, whatever is needed by the tool, you can generate the data, you can have that data ready, and then it's all about how the model, I mean, the models are very smart enough to process the data and give you the results. So underlying infrastructure and data has to be ready for the models to be in sync with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what's the secret formula?
So if I start with the secret formula, I'll say most of the organizations I'm working with right now, whether it's SMB or startup or strategic or enterprise, they're starting big. They are thinking big. They know that for moving from point A to B, they need to get these many things done, and they have a bigger picture. They know, like, down the line 5 years or 10 years, what is their vision, and they're working backwards from that vision. Now, once they have defined those big objectives or big vision, then they are defining the value proposition. What's the ROI, right? Once you define the vision and you're able to like get the amount of ideas, then they have to define the value proposition. And then finally, they're not rushing the gun on, I mean, they're not jumping on the gun. They're not making sure that, okay, if we have a bigger idea, we need to just charge it up and then make sure we attain that in the next 3 months. But what they're doing is, the best part is that they're dividing those missions or goals into very good fragmented amount of sub goals, and then they are allocating their expert teams to go and attain those sub goals. So all it comes down to is have a big plan, have a value proposition or a ROI behind that, and then start small. Start getting incremental outcomes or incremental benefits out of your mission statement, right?
Makes sense. So you have an idea of, what's the dream end state you want to get to, and start chipping away at what are those small steps we can take today, this quarter, to start building that dream infrastructure to power our dream AI down the line.
Right.
Very cool. So you've helped a lot of companies already start doing this at AWS. Tell us about a few of these success stories and some of the things that they focused on that helped them figure this out.
Cool. Yeah. So this is one of the exciting things I'm really excited to talk about. So as part of being an SMB vertical account manager, I've worked with almost all of these companies, and Simpler is a healthcare customer, and Simpler came to us with a problem back like 2 years back, where they have their workforce who are working in different shifts around the clock. So they might be nurses or providers who are working at 12 a.m. midnight or at 4 a.m. in the morning or 9 p.m. in the night. So it was really hard for them to have a manual system which was making sure that what providers goes to which shift and whether the shift is vacant or needs to be occupied by some other provider or a nurse. So the solution which AWS built for them was using agentic AI and the Bedrock models, and that solution automatically is taking care of the shift assignment. So that is reducing a lot of workload overhead from the staff. So the system or the AI application is smart enough to make sure that it is assigning the right shift to the providers based on their rosters, and that is where it is helping them a lot. Now, the other customer like Toyota, we all know, DoorDash. So all these customers are leveraging AWS GenAI apps to either like enhance their anomaly detection models, or DoorDash is using to find out better customers, provide better deals. Let's talk about DoorDash. So let's say if you are ordering food in a particular region, it will try to do some analysis like based on this region, how many users ordered the food, and then if a lot many users are ordering from a particular restaurant, then they might come up with offers, which is going to increase and enhance the sales for that particular restaurant as well as for DoorDash. So that is where these products are helping them a lot. Instead of going manually, these AI apps are giving them good recommendations on which they can increase their productivity and sales as well.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing. I think, we talked so much about AI agents and AI this. It's really nice to think of these solid, sort of concrete, real companies that you can think of. And I can't imagine how much data DoorDash has and how critical it is for AI to intelligently be able to analyze that and help with their operations. Thanks so much, Harshit. This has been super insightful. I want to bring on, in the last few minutes of this session, one of our product leaders, Mike Albritton. He is a visionary product leader at CData who is helping plan and build and pivot very quickly to all sorts of AI infrastructure and solutions that we want to build to be able to supply to our customers in the future. Mike, he's our SVP of Cloud. Yeah, really glad to have him on the stage today. And Mike, talk to us a little bit more about what you've heard from Harshit, how that factors into what CData is building, and our thoughts about actually solving those with real solutions, real software in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks, Billy, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. Great to hear Harshit's sort of ideas and what he's seeing in the market and what it takes to build out an AI capability within the organization. So yeah, let's jump in. So as Harshit outlined, a lot of the challenges that he's seeing, as companies are adopting AI, we've outlined CData's vision for a unified platform of data solutions with a roadmap to build around these key challenges that he pointed out. So for data silos, we've been investing in data virtualization and really the ability for users to be able to create a semantic layer across your organization where you can access data and it's not stuck in different silos within the organization. Next, data volumes is also another thing that Harshit pointed out, where the more and more users are using different systems, and the data volumes are just growing exponentially. And so it's really imperative to take a scalable approach, having scalable pipelines that you can deploy in container-based, elastic compute capabilities to be able to scale to meet the needs of whether it's gigabytes that you're processing or petabytes. And so CData would support that. The next is unstructured data. We model everything in SQL, and we support structured data very well. We also support unstructured data. If you're trying to create RAG-based pipelines, we allow you the ability to be able to retrieve that data and fully support that. We're also building out more capabilities on our roadmap to support that even better. And then finally, the costs are growing to manage this data. So, you're having to store the data, you're creating pipelines. At CData, we let you access the data in place. So you can retrieve the data live when it's needed, and only the data that you need to be able to reduce those costs as you're building out AI capabilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. So one thing Harshit talked about, right? These all sound really great, but how do you actually start going about it? So talk to me more about what CData is hoping to provide to help people do, as Harshit said, and think big while starting small and taking those baby steps today.
Yeah, and I think it's a really sort of practical approach to think big and start small. And so alongside our solutions and our roadmap, we want to provide these products in a practical, foundational way that companies of any size can start and grow as the company expands the scope of the project. And so with each solution, we let you start with an individual connector where you're solving a very specific need. But as that need grows, or the team grows, or the company grows, and you create, you want to take that capability across the enterprise, we support you, and certainly our unified vision of a platform supports that as well.
Cool. Totally makes sense. Thanks for jumping on, Mike, and talking to us more about this. Want to welcome Harshit back on the stage. We have 1 minute here for a last Q&A. I think there's a really great question from the audience, which is, how does both CData and AWS, if each of you can take 30 seconds, how do you stay ahead of developing software when AI is making it easier and easier to for non-programmers to vibe code and vibe query their way to developing solutions and connectors?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I'll start with the approach AWS takes in form of staying ahead of the curve. So what we always do is try to work backwards from the customer's requirement. So in all those kind of events and the kind of sessions and the kind of customer meetups we have, we try to gain the maximum feedbacks from the customer. So let's say we have an X product, it's using X services. We try to hear from the customer, try to be in their shoes and understand what they feel about the product, and then take those learnings back to the product team so that they can build and they can enhance those products. So a very good example is like 2 years, 3 years back, we were in AI, but we were not way ahead in AI, right? So what we did was we started taking those feedback from the customer, and we started aggressively working towards those requirements. And now we have built so much on top of AI that customers are happy. They're using AI. They are migrating their workloads to AI wherever possible. So it's a feedback loop, and it's a never-ending loop, I'll say.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think, Mike? What about AI-generated data connectors?
Yeah, I think the feedback loop is very important. One thing we've sort of done on our side is to be able to move fast. So the technology is moving extremely rapidly. Whereas it used to take months or years to sort of catch up, now it's moving at days and weeks. And so our team has sort of structured itself to be able to respond quickly to what we're seeing in the market, what we're hearing from customers, so that we can move fast and be able to roll out features to support their needs and initiatives.
Totally makes sense. So the human element is ever more important. AI helps you move faster and develop, but you still need the people guiding the product and what you develop for users. Thank you to both of our speakers for joining us. This has been a great session. We're going to go ahead and jump to a little trivia, And we have more great sessions for you later today. Hope to see you there.